Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, lads and ladettes. How are we all today? I'm back after 1 month. Jesus, that's not very good, is it? But I aim to have sort of one commonality, one theme. If you check all of my thumbnails, I try to look as different as I possibly can. So if you would please go to my video feed and look at the thumbnails of every one with my face in it, and all of them are very, very different. I have to make sure, whether it be short hair, whether it be different lengths of facial hair. I just had to wait a month in order for me to evolve because of my shaved head. And now, it hasn't exactly grown the fastest, but of course I do have a thicker beard, so I thought that I have evolved and it was time to make another video. But that's a horrible excuse, isn't it? But it is true. If you look at my video feed, the commonality with the profile, the thumbnail is I look extremely different in every single one of them. So fun fact with Racquet. But now to talk about the episode of core concepts that you all came here to see. This is going to be about shot calling and the importance of it. Now, shot calling is a form of leadership in game. Of course, shot calling is an ability that transcends through Overwatch, whether it be in another MOBA game like League of Legends, whether it be in Dota, whether it be in first-person shooters like Counter-Strike. There are plenty of situations where shot calling is very, very prized, and it is a very special ability, and it can nurture your players very well. And it's sort of a mini captaincy role, as I sort of alluded to earlier. What is a shot caller? Now, people seem to get this mixed up sometimes. Shot caller and target caller, two different things. Now, sometimes a shot caller may decide to target the shots, and sometimes that shot caller does, or majority of the time that shot caller does have priority on the shots, even if they do have a selected target caller, because the shot caller on the team, the hierarchy should sort of be, the shot caller has the final say unless there is a really fringe scenario in which another player thinks it's completely necessary to do something, or it's a 50-50 and the player has room to answer the question that the shot caller posed on them. But as I said, shot caller, it is a leadership role within game, whether it be giving specific directions as to pathing, where you select a few of your teammates. Sort of imagine this as an RTS for a shot caller, right? You're not exactly micromanaging everyone's little move and abilities, because you expect, if you're in a team environment or if you are in a sort of constructed environment like that, that all of those players would know their roles already, but you can command them, right? So, in RTSs, you can drag and click across the screen, you have that square, and you can highlight your units. You are the sort of RTS captain there. You're commanding, you're guiding your units in order to attack one point of objective, whether it be a selective enemy, whether it be, a point capture, whether it be a payload, right? So you are the person in command in this scenario. You should have the highest role in the hierarchy of a team. Now, shot calling, of course, as I mentioned before, it could be because of pathing. It could also, as I mentioned, it could be of target selecting as well. And really, it does come to the shot caller, and it is the most sort of important thing, especially when you win or lose, right? My saying for shot calling is, even if you have a bad shot caller, follow their call. In-game, of course. In-game. Now, afterwards, of course, when people review stuff, when you have your own opinions, feel free to say to the shot caller, I don't think that that shot call was particularly right in this scenario, because I had my ultimate up at this point and I thought I could flank around this route, right? There are places for it after game, but in-game, the shot caller should have the final say. Otherwise, you're going to have a complete division within your players. You could have 3 players going left, 3 players going right, because of one of the particular players or the members on your team said to go the opposite way that the shot caller demanded. Now, this, of course, is always an issue. But, as I mentioned, I think even if the shot call is bad, you have the opportunity after the game, if you want to have a quick talk and say, and give the shot caller some experience, because shot calling can really only develop through experience, right? Because when you're a shot caller, you can develop these skills through the scenarios that you've played in time in and time out, and it's sort of like a muscle memory, right? You have particular scenarios which you think that are advantageous. You think of particular scenarios that you've done a lot more than other ones, whether it be because you favor payload maps over 2CP and you don't have the exact macro strategy that maybe another player would possess on another game type. So maybe that player can nurture you afterwards, right? Because not everyone is perfect. You can't expect the shot caller to have all the answers at every single time. For this shot calling, of course, okay, so actually, I wanted to get this out there. Shot calling, you don't necessarily have to be a Lucio in Overwatch. Now, annotation, a Lucio shot caller is brilliant. Now, I'm not sure with the new Lucio though, but he generally is the character that doesn't require too much mechanics to work off. I mean, you can look at Anna in the other regard, saying that an Anna can shot call, but I think the main priority with Anna in the first place is just sort of call out your antis, sleeps, and whether you want an Anabist. I mean, it's a form of shot calling, but it's more of feeding information, right? And that's what I'm just going on to several rants. I'm not really connecting these up, but trust me, I will soon. Feeding information is part of the other people's role within the team, right? Because maybe a shot caller misses something particular in the fight. As I mentioned previously with the Ana, maybe a target has slept. The Ana can say, Roadhog slept. And this will give the shot caller an opportunity to say, alright, Reinhardt, he slept, charge. Oh, and then like the Zarya puts a shield on, and then you create a sort of play off that, right? You feed off the information, or perhaps in that scenario as well, that after that sleep, maybe you slept the Reinhardt, and the Reinhardt just said after that sleep landed on the opposing Reinhardt that I have Earth Shatter. Now, with that information, and you have their Reinhardt slept, which is their main source of cover within that shield, is going to give Reinhardt a free Earth Shatter. And with the information that was fed to the shot caller saying that the Earth Shatter is ready, will give the Reinhardt an opportunity to get a mass Earth Shatter because of the opposing one sleeping, right? So feeding information to the shot caller, of course, is very important, and learning to maintain clear comms as well. Now, whether that would be calling important cooldowns, like saying their Zarya shield is down, that's completely fine. But, just don't clutter the comms with useless stuff that doesn't really help in any way, right? So don't... I know this is an extreme example, but like soldiers sprinting. That's like not very useful whatsoever. You can call Tracer blinks, you can call her recall, and yeah, stuff like that. You're just calling cooldowns, and especially your opposite man as well, because you would notice that a bit more other than other heroes, right? And also something to note as well, ult charges can also be a sort of it can be a role within another player on the team, I feel, as well. The shot caller doesn't necessarily have to keep track of ult timings because of the hefty task that they do in positioning, whether that would be to command people to go onto high ground, whether that be their default position that they had the prerequisite from, or whether, they want to do it on the fly or whatever to set up for a flank. So ult charge can, of course, Lucio could have that sort of role as well, since he is a bit more idle compared to a lot of the characters. And if we're talking about shot calling, yeah, Lucio can be optimal for that. But I feel like we're going a bit of a side rant here. In my opinion, shot calling is the hardest skill to teach. Because... Sorry, I just heard my kitten crying. Alright, sorry about that. But it is a very difficult skill to teach. Because, as I said previously, shot calling is nurtured from experience. Now, with experience, of course, you have to put in a lot of time and effort and evolving your gameplay. Sort of like, let's just say, Doomsday, right? Doomsday, if you don't know, is one of the villains of Superman. And the thing is with Doomsday, Superman, I believe, beat Doomsday like the first couple times, or maybe one time. And the thing is with Doomsday, he's like a really jacked up guy, and he has like spikes on him. He's sort of like the Hulk, but he has spikes. If you've watched the Batman vs Superman movie, sorry, you'd be able to know what Doomsday looks like. The thing is with Doomsday, right? Every time Doomsday dies, depending on what he was killed from, he evolves and adapts depending on what he was killed from, right? So, what they did was, the scientists that created Doomsday in the first place, on Krypton, they designed a sort of survival arena almost. They let the Doomsday out into the wild of Krypton, and he was dying, and they made sure that he came back after every time. And after evolving so much, he actually overthrew the people that created him. And of course, this came into the role of Superman, right? When he started to meet Superman, Superman was actually beating him the first time, right? But after the second arrival of Doomsday, once Doomsday had a sort of immunity to Superman's powers, not that Superman has a vast array of powers, but he's more of a sort of punchy sort of guy. Superman is, right? He's a lot of brute strength. Of course, he does have the laser stuff as well, but he was pretty much near immune. Doomsday was against Superman. Superman, of course, is a multi-galaxy level type superhero, right? So every single punch would be a sonic boom, and you could imagine how much damage that would do. In the very first encounter, Superman won, but on the second encounter, Doomsday actually killed Superman. Now, we know with comics, resurrections can often happen and stuff like that as well. But the reason why Doomsday killed Superman was because he adapted. Now, this is why adaptation is so important and experience is so important. Now, Doomsday took, I believe, a few hundred years to evolve into that state. Now, you don't necessarily have to shotcall for a few hundred years to develop those skills. But it shows you how much experience, it shows how much going through particular situations can evolve your gameplay. It can change your thought process, and it's ultimately going to give you the sort of database within your own mind. And you can link certain things together. Overwatch is a sort of puzzle game, often. Whether it be knowing the ult charges of your team and the ult charges of the enemy team. It's a game of economy. It's a game of ult economy. The resources, the dedication that you have to withdraw within the discounted ult, not discounted, when you withdraw ultimates, when you use them. It is very advanced, and they have so many things to look forward to when coming into a fight, whether it be commanding someone to use their ultimate, whether it be saying to avoid a particular ultimate. This is what makes a shot caller so special. And I guess to give another analogy as well, in League of Legends there was a player called Cloud9 High. So High, he was I believe he was a mid laner in Cloud9 when he first came out. And he left the team because he felt that his mechanics weren't exactly helping the team. But what C9 High had is he had magnificent shot calling. Now, C9 was arguably one of the funnest teams to watch in the Worlds tournament, because what TSM worked with, they were like decent, they were good mechanically, but they didn't have the macro play. And C9 were on the opposite side of the spectrum. And when going up against Koreans, which in League of Legends, of course, are realized as the overlords, the people to beat, Cloud9 actually matched Samsung Blue in terms of macro play. The problem is they didn't have the mechanics that Samsung Blue possessed. So they said, all right, hi, I'm going to leave. Sorry, no, they said hi. I think Hi decided to leave, actually. He was like, all right, I think I'm holding the team back. And after a few iterations, Cloud9 were a better mechanical team, but they never really had the same results. TSM were getting the split awards, and Cloud9 weren't coming in very well. They were sort of hovering around the top end range, but they weren't having the same success that they had with Cloud9 High because of his shot calling. But he was getting solo killed in mid lane very often, whether it be because of a mid-tier NA mid laner, and sometimes being upset by a bottom tier mid laner. So it was very interesting to see that transition because of the lack of mechanics that he had, but the absolute beautiful macro play that he possessed. And so what ended up happening was they ended up putting Hyde back into the roster. And over a brief period of time, I think they were using him as a sort of band-aid, right? And they put him onto the support position. They also moved him into the jungle position. They were trying to mend C9 High into their team because they were missing that guidance. They were missing the shot calling that they needed. And I believe he's a bit more hands-on now. And is he still on the team? I'm not too sure. I'm not too familiar with League as of now, but I'm just trying to remember. But yeah, shot calling is so important because if you have horrible mechanics, this is why I said Lucio, of course, is a little bit more forgiving because of his mobility and the fact that he doesn't require too much in terms of mechanics. Of course, this new Lucio can require a lot more than what the old Lucio did, but you still don't involve as much as, let's say, Anna or something like that as well. So that's very important to know. And of course, the positioning, maybe with Lucio, of course, you can always take high ground. You can see the positions of other enemies, and you can be at the front, perhaps, or using your wall wire to maneuver and scout out positions, or you can go to the back and help your Anna peel. And right, there's so many situations where it becomes so important. But with C9 High, it certainly shows you how strong shot calling is. And it is definitely a trait that is very rare to see at the very, very top level, especially when considering Western teams as well. And shot callers are very... how can I word this? Shot callers are crafted because of their lack of ignorance. They know how to adapt to certain situations, and if they lose because of a particular reason, they can put their hand up and say, yep, that was on me, that was a bad call. And that's what makes a true shot caller, really. So yeah, I think I've toppled through pretty much through everything this video. I have my kitten behind me. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching this. I might make a part 2 since it is quite a interesting discussion. I believe I might have skipped a few things maybe, but I'm quite tired, so thank you very much for watching this video, ladies and gentlemen, lads and ladettes. Hope you have a very good evening, night, morning, whatever you wish. Take care, everyone. More uploads will be on the way, trust me. The content drought is over.